Greetings, everyone. Hello, my name is Mike Yao. I am the creator and designer of Savage Kingdoms, a brand new sword and sorcery role-playing game that will be released hopefully next week. Right now it's, August 7th, and we should be released around the 10th or 12th, somewhere in there. The core rulebook right now, of course, it's been finally fully written as of a week or two ago. So right now it's in the hands of my graphic layout artist, Mike Maurer. Shout out to you, buddy. He's doing a great layout on the book. He also designed our incredible logo, which actually, let's show it off really quick. That is the Savage Kingdoms T-shirt with the official logo that Mike Maurer designed for me. Looks pretty cool. I think you can see there. Now that's the T-shirt logo. The actual paper logo, the published logo, the one that would be on the rule books and on the website and that sort of thing, has gold in the inside. It's like a gold. That's actually a shield. And so the T-shirt was supposed to actually have that in there. However, between a miscommunication between myself and the printer, it didn't get done. And I can't blame them because it was partly my fault as well. Like I said, it was a miscommunication. However, it's not a complaint. It's just a statement because they look awesome. They look great. In fact, it may be a blessing in disguise because if that background were there, the words Savage Kingdoms, heroic sword and sorcery role playing would not pop out as much. You probably couldn't see it. As it is right now, you can see it easily. It's legible from 25 feet away, 20 feet away. If that background was there, it would only be legible probably from 8 to 10 feet away. So anyway, possibly a blessing in disguise. Regardless, it looks cool, and great job on the logo, Mike, and it looks awesome. So going forward, so Savage Kingdoms, that's our logo. It's in the hands of the logo designer, who's also our graphic layouts guy, Mike Maurer. He's actually doing a little bit of interior art as well. I have some interior art done also by a young artist named Savannah Burgess. Also the maps were done by me. The map artwork is mine. However, a good friend over in Scotland, Neil Robertson, has volunteered his time. Didn't even have to pay the guy. And he's also one of the backers, one of the demigod backers on the Kickstarter campaign. Volunteered his time to enhance the photos. He added text and color enhancement, and they look infinitely better than they did. So thank you very much to Neil as well. He's also done some proofreading for us. He's found several things, actually a fair number of things that most of them are just little tiny things that sneaked by us the first time, but now they're being addressed, and I'm going through yet another time and even found a couple of things that even he missed. So, and it's all a process. Anybody who's ever published before knows what I'm talking about. You just have to go through several, sometimes many runs and passes before everything gets tweaked, and even in the end, there's still probably going to be a few typos or whatever. But hopefully, all the main gist of everything is correct, and the handbook and the core rulebook looks great, and people can start using it to run sword and sorcery games. So about that, on that note, Savage Kingdoms, and you could probably tell by the title, is very, I wouldn't say very, it's not actually as gritty and dark as I originally intended, but it is fairly gritty and dark. It's high fantasy, or it's dark fantasy. It's not high fantasy at all. It's sword and sorcery, which is a subgenre of medieval fantasy started back in the 1920s, 1930s by, of course, Robert E. Howard, who invented the incredible character Conan the Cimmerian, and also Cole the Conqueror. Those are his two big sword and sorcery characters. Conan, of course, being the most popular and famous or infamous of those characters. So I was greatly inspired by Robert E. Howard, pulp, sword and sorcery, growing up, and also Tolkien, as a lot of us are Tolkien. I know he's high fantasy, but inevitably he contributes to just about all fantasy, all modern fantasy, whether it's gaming or literature, and whether anyone wants to admit it or not, it's there. Same with Howard. He's probably kind of in the background of everyone. George R. Martin, which very hot author right now, and particularly with his Game of Thrones web series on. Of course, the books. The first book was 14 years ago or something. But with the really successful and really good, I mean, justifiably successful cable series, is now getting him even more exposure. So Martin, A Song of Fire and Ice in particular, also had a lot of influence with Savage Kingdoms and things in Norse mythology, Celtic mythology, Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Romanian mythology. Most of those are influences in the Western continent, which is the core continent of the core game setting of in the rule book, in the core rule book when it comes out. So that is the Western continent called Astegonia. And Astegonia is not really super well known. That's what the Pridonians call it. They're a culture in the south, this very island, very Greco-Spartan sort of island culture that goes way back. One of the early human cultures, actually. And so their scholars have deemed this entire continent, because they're some of the few only aware of the fact that this is called a continent and it's a giant landmass that one might call a continent. They call it Astegonia. Across the Dragon Sea are the continents of Hassan, which is a big eastern continent, and Amanji or Amanju. I don't think I've decided what I'm going to call it. But I think it's Amanju. Is a southern African-like continent that's attached to Hassan across the Dragon Sea. There's a lot more of the world over there. The core rulebook again focuses on the western continent, Astegonia, and the Pridonian Islands that are just associated with it, and the Emerald Islands or Emerald Isles as well. And let's see what else is kind of in the area. Yeah, well, the Bone Isles and the Isles of Night. Anyway, all these are just little island clusters that are technically attached or have something to do with Astegonia, culturally or geographically or both. But across the Dragon Sea again are eastern and southern continents. There's also an isle continent called Ragnagard. It's a northern sort of polar cap continent. Actually, it's not really a polar cap, but rumor has it that it may be attached to a greater ice sheet sort of polar cap. Again, we're in a setting that most people really don't know what the term polar cap means. Some of the most commoners in many of the cultures assume the world is flat, or more realistically, assume nothing. They don't really care. Their world extends almost literally as far as the next river or the mountain range, or more fittingly, probably just the local village. So the term world, of course, isn't necessarily applied to planet. It just means that's just your experience of how far you've gone or how far you've heard of. So, and speaking thematically of that, the setting is very Dark Ages, there's a very ancient world feel to it as well. There's several ancient classical era sort of cultures. I touched on one of them, the Pridonians, which are just the descendants of the Rhodanites, an even earlier form of sort of Greek type culture. There's Larenthia, the Empire of Larenthia. The Larenthians are very Romanesque, which is kind of cool. They have an emperor, and they're very provincial. They have pretty impressive cities too. But whereas the Pridonians rule mostly from the city-state standpoint, the Larenthians rule and govern and organize more from a provincial standpoint. There's some other pretty cool cultures too, like Eredorn and that culture actually is one of the few that's approaching a Middle Ages or medieval era culture. And Brithia is pretty close as well. And anyway, so there are, and Ismandos, there are several cultures that are late Dark Ages, early Middle Ages. So you get a pretty good mix, sort of like Robert E. Howard did with a lot of his cultures for Conan, for the character Conan. However, not probably as broad, because some of it can wean a little unbelievable. So again, the setting is trying to be, like I guess all good settings, is trying to be believable. I'm hesitate to say realistic because it is fantasy, but it is realistic within the theme or realm of what it is, if that makes any sense. So that's just a little overview about Savage Kingdoms and about the themes and the atmosphere of Savage Kings. So basically, Game of Thrones meets Conan the Cimmerian with a dash of Lord of the Rings. And my computer just blinked for a minute. I apologize. Throw in a little 13th Warrior, some good old Celtic, Nordic, Greek mythology, and you've probably got a pretty good feel of what the setting is about. That's probably about 90% accurate right there. So now the next video I'll do, I need to wrap this up in the next couple of minutes. This was supposed to just be an introductory video, just to introduce myself in the game. The next video I'll go over character creation, but really quick, just in the next 2 or 3 minutes. Here is the character sheet. It's the official character sheet of Savage Kingdoms. It will appear in probably in the back of the core rule book. Here we go. You think as an actor I would have better camera skills, but I am usually not taping myself. Alright, I don't know why it's not focusing very well. This is terrible. Alright, well, that's the character sheet for what it's worth. I don't think it really showed up that well. I apologize. Here's some more literature. I just got these printed. These will be handed out at DragonCon. That sort of thing. Savage Kingdoms, heroic sword and sorcery role-playing. Immersive role-playing in a gritty world of dark fantasy. Coming August 2014. Alright, sorry. Fire in the Head Productions says it at the bottom. And here's the back. It's just some stuff I had made. I'm just trying to show them off. There's some of our maps, actually. Some of the map files. Website information, please visit. And other stuff. Right. Oh, one thing on there catches my attention. It says dark and gritty setting. I covered that. Low magic. Oh, there's several things I like to cover really quick. Low magic but high mysticism. This is low magic and high magic is a term that we gamers like to throw around, and it's not always particularly accurate or what we're trying to make it say. But I think generally what that usually means, or what we intend it to mean, is that low magic means there's not a lot of magic in the setting, as in and from a game mechanical standpoint. So Savage Kingdoms is low magic, thank God. I wanted it that way. And however, it is high magic in the sense of narratively speaking, in the sense of the setting. In other words, the common man, well, even most of the aristocracy, they see the gods in almost everything. There's magic everywhere. You know, when there's a thunderstorm, it's probably the gods at battle. Or they're very angry with you, requiring or so you think, requiring a greater sacrifice of some sort. The rivers may or may not contain spirits in them. They may be gods themselves, or the mountains, or whatever. So, and luck and fate, and you know, the earlier sense of the word luck generally is attached to divine favor instead of the modern sense of the word, which I don't think generally explains it very well. It's like when somebody says, "You got lucky," meaning it's almost like to say there was no skill or talent involved, but you still got through it. Well, the ancient word for luck is really more like favor. It's like impressive. It's like, wow, you were lucky. That's cool because the gods favor you. So anyway, it's that sort of thematics, if that's making any sense at all. So game mechanically, low magic, narratively, setting-wise, high magic, or high mysticism, as I call it. The game system, again, and I'll go on more of that on the next video, but it just runs on a single D20. One D20 is all you need. All the action resolution is resolved in that single D20 roll. And combat, and it also includes damage. So that includes your success, your attack, or your to-hit, and your damage is all on that one roll. And I'll get to more of that in the next video, because I'm probably going to end this one pretty soon. So that's it in a nutshell. Actually, here's a map of the setting really quick before I go. There we go. It's showing up better than the character sheet did. All right, so that is there's Astagonia, the Western continent. And that's the Dragon Sea. So that's Hassan. And attached down there, although it's off the map, is Amanju. There's Ragnagard at the top. There's another island continent called Nezca, by the way, that's very Aztec flavored. It's not as big an isle continent as Ragnagard. It's also in the south, pretty much along the equator, so it's pretty darn warm and balmy down there. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Remember, Savage Kingdoms, pick it up. It's coming pretty soon. We'll also be at Dragon Con. I'll be running several demo sessions in the open campaign gaming area in the Hilton, the Atlanta Hilton. So hopefully come meet me there. I'll have t-shirts for sale and try to get most of the game slots have been purchased already to play, but there are several available. So see if you can check it out and we can meet and hopefully you'll enjoy the game. And I will talk to you guys soon in the next video. Thanks for watching and happy adventuring.